The coffee mug slipped from Daniel's hand, shattering against the kitchen tile. On Rebecca's unlocked phone, the message glowed like a brand. I can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? His hands trembled as he scrolled up. Months. This had been going on for months. The late-night book club meetings, the sudden interest in yoga classes, the new lingerie he'd foolishly believed was for him. Tyler makes me feel alive again, one message read. I love Daniel, but it's not the same. With you, I feel like myself. Daniel set the phone down exactly where he'd found it, his mind eerily calm despite the hurricane building in his chest. He'd been married to Rebecca for 7 years. 7 years of building a life together, of whispered promises in the dark, of her head on his chest as they talked about growing old together. He remembered their last intimate moment just 2 nights ago. She'd initiated it, pulling him close with an urgency he'd mistaken for passion. Now he understood. It was guilt. She'd made love to him with Tyler's name probably still warm on her lips. The betrayal cut deeper than any blade could. But Daniel didn't scream. He didn't throw things. He didn't confront her when she walked through the door that evening, her hair slightly mussed, her excuse about traffic already prepared on her tongue. Instead, he kissed her cheek. How was your day? Exhausting, Rebecca sighed, dropping her bag. The new project at work is killing me. There was no project. He checked. Another lie in an ocean of them. That night in bed, she curled against him like always, her breathing eventually slowing into sleep. Daniel stared at the ceiling, his arm around her feeling like dead weight. How many times had Tyler touched her? How many lies had she whispered into Daniel's ear while thinking of another man? He slipped out of bed at 3 a.m. and began his plan. The suitcase came down from the closet silently. He packed methodically, clothes, toiletries, important documents. In the living room, he placed a small voice-activated recorder behind a picture frame, its red light barely visible. Rebecca stirred around 6, reaching for him. Daniel? He stood in the doorway, fully dressed, suitcase by his feet. Her face registered confusion, then something like fear. What's going on? I need some time away, he said, his voice hollow. Don't call me. What, Daniel, what are you talking about? She scrambled out of bed, wearing the silk nightgown he bought her for their anniversary. Please, talk to me. He looked at her one last time, really looked at her. The woman he'd loved more than life itself had become a stranger wearing a familiar face. Goodbye, Rebecca. The door clicked shut behind him, and he heard her calling his name, panic rising in her voice. Phase 1 was complete. Rebecca stood frozen in the empty bedroom, Daniel's absence echoing through the house like a scream. Her phone buzzed. Tyler. Morning, beautiful. Last night was incredible. Horror washed over her. Last night she'd been with Daniel. Tyler was confused about days again, his texts sometimes bleeding together in her guilty conscience. She'd been juggling 2 men, 2 lives, and now it was all collapsing. She tried calling Daniel. Once, twice, 10 times, voicemail. Daniel, please, I don't understand what's happening. Please come home. We can talk about whatever's wrong. I love you, please. The house felt cavernous without him. Rebecca wandered through rooms they'd decorated together, memories ambushing her at every turn. The couch where they'd spent lazy Sundays tangled together, the kitchen where he'd made her breakfast in bed, the bedroom where he'd held her through her mother's death, where they'd made promises to each other in the sacred dark. What had she done? Tyler called. She stared at his name on the screen, disgust rising like bile. How had she convinced herself this was okay? That the excitement, the forbidden thrill, was worth destroying everything real she had? She didn't answer. For the first time in 3 months, she didn't answer. Instead, she texted Daniel again. I know something's wrong. Please, just tell me what it is. I'm scared. Nothing. By afternoon, panic had transformed into something wild. She called his office. He'd called in sick. His friends claimed they hadn't heard from him. It was as if he'd vanished, taking with him every certainty she'd ever known. Rebecca collapsed on the living room couch, her mind spinning through possibilities. Had he met someone? Was he hurt? The alternative, that he somehow knew about Tyler, seemed impossible. She'd been so careful. Hadn't she? Her phone buzzed. Finally. But it wasn't Daniel. It was Tyler! Can you come over? I need to see you. Something in her snapped. No, she texted back. We're done. Don't contact me again. What? Becca, what's going on? She blocked his number, the action both liberating and terrifying. What was she doing? Tyler had been her escape, her excitement, her mistake. The truth crashed over her like a wave. Tyler wasn't the answer to anything. He was a symptom of something broken inside her, something she'd been too cowardly to face. The distance she'd felt from Daniel hadn't been his fault. It had been hers. She'd stopped trying, stopped communicating, stopped fighting for what they had. Instead, she'd run straight into another man's arms. Evening fell. Still no word from Daniel. Rebecca found herself standing in their bedroom, holding his favorite sweater, breathing in his scent. 7 years of marriage, and she'd thrown it away for what? A few stolen moments with a man who didn't know her favorite movie, who'd never held her hair back when she was sick, who'd never promised to love her until death? Her phone lit up. I'm home. We need to talk. Rebecca's heart stopped. He was here? She ran through the house, checking every room. Empty. Confused, she returned to the living room just as a sound filled the space. Her own voice. Tyler makes me feel alive again. I love Daniel, but it's not the same. With you, I feel like myself. Rebecca's blood turned to ice. The voice recorder sat on the coffee table, its red light blinking accusingly. Her own words, words she typed in secret, words she believed were hidden forever, echoed through the house with crystal clarity. I can't keep living this double life, another message played. But I'm not ready to give either of you up. No, she whispered, reaching for the device. Her hand shook so violently she could barely grasp it, but more messages kept playing, each one a dagger to her chest. Daniel's working late again. Come over. I have to be careful. He can't ever find out. Last night with you was better than anything I've had in months. Rebecca heard herself gasp on the recording, her own sounds of pleasure she'd thought were private. The intimacy she'd shared with Tyler, preserved and replayed in the home she shared with her husband. She wanted to vomit. The front door opened. Daniel stood there, watching her from the threshold, his face a mask of controlled pain. Daniel, she moved toward him, but he held up a hand. Don't. His voice was cold, a tone she'd never heard from him before. I've heard enough. I've read enough. I know everything, Rebecca. She crumpled to the floor, sobs tearing from her throat. I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I was stupid, so stupid. Stupid? Daniel laughed, a bitter sound. Stupid is forgetting an anniversary. Stupid is a drunken kiss you regret. You planned this. For months. Every lie, every secret meeting, every time you came home and kissed me after being with him. That wasn't stupid. That was calculated. Please, let me explain. Explain what? He stepped further into the room but maintained his distance, as if she carried a disease. Explain how the woman I trusted with everything had been betraying me. Explain how you looked me in the eyes every day and lied. Explain how you made love to me while thinking of him. Rebecca flinched at each word, the accuracy of his accusations stripping her bare. I ended it. I blocked him. It's over. Because you got caught. Daniel's jaw clenched. Not because you had a crisis of conscience, not because you realized what you were destroying, because I found out. That's not true. I realized, listening to those messages, I realized how wrong I was, how much I've hurt you, how much I've thrown away. She crawled toward him, desperate. Daniel, I love you. I've always loved you. I lost my way, but I can find it again. We can fix this. You love me? His voice cracked, the first sign of the devastation beneath his controlled exterior. You have a funny way of showing it. While I was dreaming about our future, planning surprises, trying to be the husband you deserved, you were in another man's bed. It wasn't like that. Don't you dare minimize this. Anger flashed in his eyes. 3 months, Rebecca. 90 days of lies, of deception, of you making me feel crazy when I questioned the distance between us. You gaslit me, made me think I was imagining problems that didn't exist, when the whole time you were fucking someone else. She'd never heard him use that word with such venom. It made the reality of what she'd done inescapable. How did you find out? She whispered. Daniel pulled her phone from his pocket and tossed it onto the couch. You left it unlocked 3 days ago. A message came through from Amanda from yoga. Except Amanda doesn't exist, does she? Tyler does. Rebecca closed her eyes, remembering. She'd been careless, drunk on wine and false security. I could have confronted you then, Daniel continued. Could have screamed and broken things and given you the dramatic scene you probably expected. But I wanted you to feel what I felt. The confusion, the fear, the desperate need for answers that never come. You wanted me to suffer. I wanted you to understand. They sat on opposite sides of the living room, an ocean of broken trust between them. Dawn was approaching, neither of them having slept, both exhausted by the weight of revealed truth. How did it start? Daniel asked, his voice raw. Rebecca wrapped her arms around herself. Every instinct screamed to lie, to minimize, to protect herself. But she owed him the truth. All of it. 6 months ago, at Jenny's birthday party, you'd left early for that work emergency. She forced herself to meet his eyes. Tyler was there. He was funny, attentive. We talked for hours. He made me feel seen. I didn't make you feel seen. The pain in Daniel's voice was unbearable. You did. You do. But somewhere along the way we become comfortable, routine. We stopped dating each other. Stopped trying. Tears streamed down her face. That's not an excuse. Nothing excuses what I did. But you asked how it started, and that's the truth. I felt invisible, and he made me feel visible again. So you had an affair instead of talking to me? Daniel's hands clenched into fists. Instead of suggesting couples therapy or a vacation or even just telling me you were unhappy, you chose to destroy everything we built. I know how wrong it was. I kept telling myself it was just flirting, then just texting, then just once, then... Her voice broke. I kept moving the line until there was no line anymore, until I was someone I don't recognize. Tell me everything, Daniel demanded. I need to know. Where did you meet him? How many times? Did you... He swallowed hard. Did you think about leaving me for him? Rebecca felt like she was skinning herself alive, but she owed him this pain. His apartment, mostly. Sometimes hotels when he traveled. Maybe 20 times? 30? She couldn't remember exact numbers, and that fact alone was damning. And no, I never wanted to leave you. I know that sounds insane, but it's true. Tyler was an escape, not a replacement. That's supposed to make me feel better? That I was plan A while you fucked around with plan B? Nothing I say will make this better. I'm not trying to make it better. You asked, and I'm answering. Rebecca's voice steadied, acceptance of her own monstrousness settling over her. I love you, Daniel. I never stopped loving you, but I also betrayed you in the worst possible way. Both things are true. Did you think about him when you were with me? The question came out strangled. That night, 2 days ago, when we made love, were you thinking about him? No. She looked him directly in the eyes. I was thinking about you, about us, about how much I'd missed feeling close to you, about how that connection was still there under everything else. Under everything else, Daniel repeated hollowly. under the lies and the cheating and the disrespect. Yes, she wouldn't sugarcoat it anymore. Silence stretched between them. Outside, birds began their morning songs, oblivious to the devastation inside. I've thought about leaving, Daniel admitted. Packing that bag wasn't just theater. I meant it. Part of me still means it. Rebecca's heart shattered further, though she'd known this was coming. I understand. But 7 years doesn't just disappear because you... He couldn't finish the sentence. My lawyer said I have grounds for divorce. Everyone I've talked to says I should leave. You told people? Shame burned through her. I told my brother and my best friend. I needed someone to talk to since I couldn't trust my wife. The bitterness in his voice was warranted. They're furious with you. They want me to take you for everything. I deserve that. Maybe you do. Daniel stood pacing. But what I deserve is the question I'm struggling with. Do I deserve to spend the rest of my life wondering if you're lying, checking your phone, never fully trusting you again? Or do I deserve to start over with someone who would never do this to me? You deserve better than what I gave you, Rebecca said quietly. You deserve someone who fights for your marriage instead of running from it, someone who communicates instead of cheating, someone who honors the vows they made. That's what I thought I had. The words landed like a physical blow. 2 weeks passed in a strange limbo. Daniel slept in the guest room. They communicated in brief, painful exchanges. Rebecca gave him her phone passcode, her email passwords, her location tracking, everything. She answered every question, endured every accusation, accepted every consequence. She quit her job to avoid Tyler, who'd apparently been fired himself after Rebecca reported their relationship to HR. Fraternization with a subordinate was against company policy. She'd started individual therapy, not because Daniel demanded it, but because she needed to understand how she'd become capable of such destruction. Daniel had moved through stages: rage, grief, numbness. Some days he couldn't look at her. Other days he caught himself reaching for her out of habit, only to pull back as memory returned. On the 15th day, he asked her to sit down. I've made a decision, he said. Rebecca braced herself for divorce papers. I'm willing to try, not to forgive. I don't know if I can ever forgive this, but to try rebuilding. Rebecca's breath caught. What? I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me, because 7 years meant something, because the woman I married is still in there somewhere under the person who betrayed me, because I need to know I tried everything before I walk away. Daniel? Let me finish. His voice was firm. We're starting couples therapy next week. Dr. Williams specializes in infidelity recovery. You're continuing individual therapy. We're establishing complete transparency. Phones, schedules, everything. You're blocking every contact with Tyler, including mutual friends who might connect you. And if I ever discover you've lied to me again about anything, we're done. Immediately. No second chances. Rebecca nodded, tears streaming. I'll do anything. Everything. This isn't going to be easy, Daniel warned. I'm going to have bad days. Days where I can't stand to look at you. Days where I rage about what you did. You don't get to ask me to get over it. You don't get to decide when I'm healed. I understand. Do you? He leaned forward, intensity in his eyes. Because this is the rest of our lives, Rebecca. If we stay together, this will always be part of our story. Our kids, if we have kids, might someday know their mother cheated on their father. This doesn't just disappear. I know. Her voice was small. And I'll spend every day proving I'm worth the chance you're giving me. Daniel stood, exhaustion evident in every line of his body. I'm not promising we'll make it. I'm not promising I'll stop hurting. I'm just promising I'll try. That's all I have right now. It's more than I deserve. Yeah, he agreed quietly. It is. Months passed. Therapy sessions were brutal, forcing them both to excavate the foundation of their marriage and examine every crack. Rebecca learned that her affair hadn't been about Tyler. It had been about avoiding the hard work of maintaining intimacy, about seeking external validation, instead of building internal strength, about taking the easy path instead of the right one. Daniel learned that while Rebecca's choices were hers alone, he contributed to the distance between them through his own emotional unavailability and tendency to prioritize work over their relationship. It didn't excuse her betrayal, but it provided context for how they drifted. They started dating again. Awkward at first, like strangers learning each other's rhythms. Rebecca planned thoughtful dates, remembering what Daniel loved. Daniel slowly, painfully, began lowering his walls. One night, 6 months after the discovery, they lay in bed together for the first time since everything fell apart. Not in the guest room where Daniel had been sleeping, but their bedroom. Their bed. "I still love you," Rebecca whispered into the darkness. "I never stopped even when I was destroying us." Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "I still love you too. I hate that I do sometimes. It would be easier if I didn't." "I'm sorry," she said for the 1,000th time. "For all of it." "I know." His hand found hers under the covers. "I'm not there yet. I'm not sure when I'll be there. But I'm not leaving." "That's enough," Rebecca said. "For now, that's enough." They fell asleep holding hands, two people rebuilding from ruins, uncertain of the future, but committed to trying. The betrayal would always be part of their story, a scar that might fade, but would never fully disappear. But scars were proof of survival. And sometimes, surviving was its own form of victory. The end.